Hello lovelies. You know, sometimes I sit back and look at Maurice Sam, and I can't shake this feeling that something heavy is hiding behind his silence. It's the kind of quiet that makes you pause and ask yourself, what is he really carrying? Because this isn't the silence of peace, it's the silence of someone trying to protect himself from a world that is demanding too much. And when a celebrity becomes unusually quiet, that's when the real story usually begins. It's almost like he's standing in the middle of a loud crowd but trying not to let the noise break him. And the more you observe, the more you notice the pressure building around him. Fans want him to act a certain way, the public expects constant updates, and nobody stops to ask how he feels inside. When expectations start shaping your actions, you lose your freedom to simply be yourself. That seems to be the battle Maurice is facing now, the fight to stay true in a world pulling him in different directions. At some point, every man chooses peace over pressure, and it feels like Maurice is getting close to that moment. Let me tell you something, the atmosphere around Maurice and Sonia these days feels like a movie scene where everyone is secretly trying to unlock hidden codes. There's this thick suspense around them, the kind that makes people lean forward as if something big is about to happen. But the plot twist is simple, nothing big is actually happening. The suspense was created by the fans themselves. People are reading meanings into every gesture. A caption becomes a confession, a smile becomes a clue, and a simple video becomes a message. Once fans decide something is coded, it becomes almost impossible to convince them otherwise. Sonia has faced this for years because fame has taught her that people see what they want to see. They create their own storylines even when the actors involved are just living their normal lives. Fame has a way of making ordinary actions look mysterious. And when fans turn into detectives, even the simplest moment becomes a puzzle they are desperate to solve. Every time I look at Maurice lately, I get this feeling that something inside him has shifted. It's that kind of change you don't see immediately, but you feel deeply, like someone quietly stepping into a new season of life. It creates suspense because you can't help wondering, what caused this transformation? His energy is calmer now, more grounded, more thoughtful. And that type of calm doesn't come without a story behind it. It comes from being stretched, pressured, tested, and then choosing to grow instead of collapse. Maurice seems to be in a season of maturity where his priorities are changing. He reacts differently to noise and drama. He doesn't answer every rumor. He doesn't give the public what they expect. Growth does that. It makes you walk away from things that no longer align with who you're becoming. And that's the misunderstanding many fans have, they want the old version of him, but he's no longer in that chapter. Growth doesn't follow the script others wrote, it creates a new one. You ever notice how sometimes love can become heavier than hate? That's what's happening around Sonia lately. There's this quiet suspense around her every move, like people are waiting for something from her, something she never promised. You can practically feel the pressure surrounding her name. Fans love her deeply, but sometimes that love becomes overwhelming. They want her to smile perfectly, react perfectly, choose relationships perfectly, forgetting she's human, not a character. Fame magnifies everything. A small action becomes dramatic. A simple choice becomes a trending topic. And when fans start projecting their fantasies on a celebrity, it becomes difficult for that person to live freely. Sonia has learned how to stand strong in the middle of heavy expectations, but even the strongest person gets tired. She wants to breathe, to choose her own pace, to live without disappointing thousands of people watching. But fame rarely gives room for softness or freedom. It demands performances even in moments when a person wants silence. Sonia's strength lies in her calmness, but even calmness needs a place to rest. There's something about Maurice's recent post that feels layered, like he's speaking from a deeper place. You read them and pause, wondering, what is he trying to say? That pause is where the suspense lives. There's a new tone in his words, a maturity that wasn't always there. And whenever someone starts expressing themselves differently, people immediately assume they are sending hidden messages to someone else. But what if the message is actually to himself? Growth brings reflection, and reflection brings new ways of speaking. Maurice seems to be in a phase where he's understanding himself more clearly. These emotions don't come from confusion. They come from lessons learned through difficult experiences. People call it mystery, but it's simply evolution. When someone has walked through internal battles, they stop explaining everything directly. They start speaking with depth, not secrecy. And maybe that's the part fans are noticing, a man who is finally expressing himself with clarity, not quotes. Anytime Maurice and Sonia's names appear together, the air changes instantly. It's like a spark hits the comment section and everyone becomes alert. Their chemistry on screen created a fantasy in the minds of fans, and that fantasy refuses to fade. The suspense comes from the expectations people built around them, expectations that sometimes feel stronger than reality. But that kind of attention comes with pressure. Every project they do separately becomes a debate. Every silence becomes a rumor. Every post becomes an update. Fame multiplies pressure, especially when people start seeing you as a pair instead of two individuals. It can influence how you walk, how you think, and even how you react to opportunities. Sometimes it pushes you toward things you don't want. Other times it pulls you away from things you actually enjoy. Maurice and Sonia are navigating the type of fame that locks people into stories they didn't write, and escaping those stories is a challenge on its own. There's a special kind of tension that happens when someone is growing emotionally but still standing in the middle of fame. That's the silent drama happening around Maurice and Sonia. Fans want the old versions, the versions they fell in love with, but emotional growth pushes the person forward. It creates conflict because fans expect one thing while the celebrity is becoming something new. Growth doesn't wait for approval. It doesn't pause because fans aren't ready. It happens silently, deeply, and powerfully. And when it does, the person begins to make decisions that don't always match fan fantasies. That's when the misunderstandings begin. Maurice and Sonia are simply evolving, learning, unlearning, and becoming better versions of themselves. But fame makes these natural changes look bigger than they are. Fans create their own interpretations for every shift. But the truth is simple, growth always writes its own story, even when the audience is expecting a different plot. Something interesting happens when someone becomes famous, people start writing scripts for their lives. That's the suspense around Maurice right now. Fans want him to behave the way they imagine in their minds. They want him to follow a storyline they created, even though he never agreed to it. It's almost like he's acting in a movie written by strangers. But how long can anyone live like that? When people expect specific reactions, celebrities feel trapped. They can't express their true emotions without someone twisting it into a headline. They can't make mistakes without it becoming a discussion. And in the middle of all that noise, it becomes easy to lose your identity. Maurice seems more private now, more intentional, more selective. He understands the weight of being watched. One wrong move can become unnecessary drama. So he's rewriting his life, not to please the audience, but to protect his peace. And that is one of the bravest decisions a celebrity can make. Fame has this strange way of turning small actions into big stories, and Sonia experiences that every day. She posts a picture, and people start creating narratives. She smiles in a video, and fans call it a clue. She stays quiet for a moment, and suddenly everyone begins guessing. That's the suspense fame creates. It makes even the simplest things look heavy or meaningful. Sonia has learned how to handle it gracefully, but that doesn't mean it's easy. People forget she's human. They forget she has real feelings, real struggles, real preferences. They look for depth where there is none. They turn normal life into speculation. Fame creates a stage even when the person is off camera. And the pressure doesn't come from hate, it often comes from fans who care too much, who want updates even when there's nothing to update. But some things in life are meant to remain simple, and Sonia has mastered the art of keeping her balance despite the noise around her. There's a moment when you observe a celebrity and you just know they're carrying more than they show. That's the suspense around Maurice and Sonia right now. The love people have for them is real, but that love mixed with expectations becomes heavy. You can see it in their cautious posts, their thoughtful reactions, their selective appearances. Fame exposes them to constant judgment. Every step becomes a conversation. Every choice becomes a debate. Every silence becomes a rumor. They are trying to live genuinely while thousands of people analyze everything they do. And that kind of pressure takes strength. That's why many celebrities choose privacy, not because they're hiding something, but because peace has become their priority. Maurice and Sonia simply want space to breathe, space to grow, and space to protect their true selves away from public pressure. And honestly, they deserve that quiet dot. And that's the deep side of today's gist, guys. Every silence has a story, every action has layers, and every celebrity carries more than we see. Stay tuned, more revealing gist coming your way soon. Have a nice day. Bye.